Greetings, brothers and sisters. This is a re-upload. I woke up and found that CBS had copyrighted a little bit of a clip I used from a entertainment show, using a clip of CBS's stupid reality TV show with Jodie Sweetin and Paulina Porizkova, and so I edited most of it out, and I'm re-uploading this for those of you who didn't get to watch the end of the video. But that's why this is being re-uploaded. I have video today about Jojo Magoo completely failing in the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and some other stuff with that. Bill Maher, and I'll get to the whole Supreme Court and the Roe v. Wade in a video, like either later on tonight or tomorrow. But anyways, here's the re-uploaded video. Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I showed you this the other day. This was the Illuminati clip, and now they have their own separate clips featuring the Illuminati, right? They stuck at the end of a clip. Marvel Studios, Doctor Strange, in the Multiverse of Madness, the Illuminati, right? And so this is the new promo piece they've put up here.
Stephen Strange.
The Illuminati will see you now.
Yeah, they will. In 1 week, they'll see him.
We will see what kind of Doctor Strange you are.
So that's Dr. Xavier, whatever his name is. Dr. X from the X-Men, right? He's in charge of the X-Men. And that's two different universes. Like the X-Men hadn't existed in the other Marvel universe. They were their own separate sort of universe, right? And he appears to be in charge of the Illuminati. And so what they've done here is they're now using the Illuminati as a marketing tool. This is where we've, where we are right now. Where first they denied secret societies, they denied shadow government. The Illuminati stuff was there, sort of hidden. And now they've completely embraced this idea and using it to bring more viewers, more customers into their movies. And so what happened was I was watching a basketball game, and they showed the first promo where at the end of it they dropped this Illuminati thing, right? And it was probably on ESPN. Disney owns ESPN and ABC. I mean, Disney's this big conglomerate. They talk about the Kardashians at Disneyland. But it's this whole thing, right? And they dropped this Illuminati promo at the basketball game, and now they separated that out, and they're using it to promote their movie, right? They're saying if people think there's Illuminati in this movie, they'll watch it. And this actually is kind of like a shout out to the truth community, right? To where that's become something that's popular. Secret societies, this idea of secret societies and shadow governments is now a winning, a way to bring people into something, right? As much as Obama's going to deny it, well, let's go to that.
With shared interest to find each other. I might never have been elected president if it hadn't been for websites like, and I'm dating myself, MySpace, Meetup, and Facebook that allowed an army of young volunteers to organize, raise money, spread our message. That's what elected me. And since then, we've all witnessed the ways that activists use social media platforms to register dissent and shine a light on injustice and mobilize people on issues like climate change and racial justice. So the internet and the accompanying information revolution has been transformative, and there's no turning back. But
it should be butthurt. It should be butthurt. And so he's saying, hey, this is Stanford. He's at Stanford University's Cyber Policy Center, right? He talked about how he had this grassroots campaign that came out of Facebook and MySpace and these other, available platforms that were there that young people mobilized and got him past Hillary Clinton and into the White House. And how, he wouldn't have been president if it wasn't for the internet, and how activists have used the internet for the left and for good, but There's a big but here.
$5.25 for a sniffing tug. It was a dude, man.
Like all advances in technology, this progress has had unintended consequences. It's sometimes come at a price. And in this case, we see that our new information ecosystem is turbocharging some of humanity's worst impulses.
I.e., things that disagree with our agenda and our policies.
Not all of these effects are intentional or even avoidable. They're simply the consequence of billions of humans suddenly plugged into an instant 24/7 global information stream. 40 years ago, if you were a conservative in rural Texas, you weren't necessarily offended by what was going on in San Francisco's Castro district because you didn't know what was going on. When it came to the news, at least, citizens across the political spectrum tended to operate using a shared set of facts. What they saw, what they heard from Walter Cronkite or David Brinkley or others.
So he's lamenting that people now think for themselves, right? Instead of you guys just listening to Walter Cronkite to tell you what to think, right? Now you guys are thinking for yourselves, and we got to put an end to that.
Today, of course, we occupy entirely different media realities, fed directly into our phones. Don't even have to look up. And it's made all of us more prone to what psychologists call confirmation bias. The tendency to select facts and opinions that reinforce our pre-existing worldviews and filter out those that don't. So inside our personal information bubbles, our assumptions, our blind spots, our prejudices aren't challenged, they're reinforced. And naturally, we're more likely to react negatively to those consuming different facts and opinions, all of which deepens existing racial and religious and cultural divides.
That's a true statement, but he's only trying to censor one side, right? You're going to hear the side he's trying to censor. And so only one side is being censored. Well, it's the right wing, but also the truth community, which are two different things. Totally two different things. And he's going to conflate them because, you know, there's Putin, right? He's going to Putin it. He's Putining it.
It's fair to say then that some of the current challenges we face are inherent to a fully connected world. Our brains aren't accustomed to taking in this much information this fast. And a lot of us are experiencing overload. But not all problems we're seeing now are an inevitable project or an inevitable byproduct.
Inevitable project. I mean product. I didn't mean project like a psyop that we've conducted. I mean a byproduct, not a project, a byproduct
Of this new technology. They're also the result of very specific choices made by the companies that have come to dominate the internet generally and social media platforms in particular.
Which are all run by liberals, billionaires, and trillionaires that have a liberal bias and a bias towards your agenda and the Hollywood agenda, the Hollywood morality, right? So, they don't have enough, right? They don't have enough control. You guys have, your controllers control the social media, but you don't have enough control. You don't have enough, it's not lining up enough on your side, right? On your point of view. And so you want even more. It's not like it's run by right-wing people. Elon Musk, the guy clearly isn't a truther or a right-winger, somebody who's maybe going to open things up just a tad and they're flipping out over it, right? The level of control and power grab that they want here.
Decisions that intentionally or not have made democracies more vulnerable.
So, spoiler alert, the way to make democracies less vulnerable is to get rid of people's freedom of expression and speech on the internet, right? Is to not allow people to believe other things than what you're telling them to believe in your, state-run media, news media, and celebrity, agenda and things, is to get rid of the alternate, differing opinions. That's the best way for democracy. He's going to say that up here. Get rid of anybody else's point of view other than your own, and that's the kind of democracy we need.
Authoritarian regimes and strongmen around the world, from China to Hungary, the Philippines, Brazil, have learned to conscript social media platforms to turn their own populations against groups they don't like.
And that's not happening here at all. We would never do something like that. That's just them over there. We don't employ the same strategies and behaviors and techniques as they do in They all do the same thing. If they're doing it, you're doing it, right? So the government, with their thousands, hundreds of thousands of trolls, the government has a whole call center full of trolls. The Washington Post did an article about it years ago. They have all these trolls. They have all these disinformation agents. And they use the internet. Like he said himself, he used the internet for his agenda and his people pushing his lies and his policies out there. Young people, activists, and Hollywood faketivists, right? But no, you guys don't do that. Just those other countries, right?
Whether it's ethnic minorities, the LGBTQ community, journalists, political opponents, and of course, autocrats like Putin have used these platforms as a strategic weapon against democratic countries that they consider a threat.
I want to apologize. I'm sorry that Vladimir Putin has effed with me again.
People like Putin, and Steve Bannon for that matter, understand it's not necessary for people to believe disinformation in order to weaken democratic institutions. You just have to flood a country's public square with enough raw sewage. You just have to raise enough questions, spread enough dirt, plant enough conspiracy theorizing that citizens no longer know what to believe.
They no longer listen to us anymore and trust us, right? That's the problem here. He's going to say it.
Once they lose trust in their leaders, in mainstream media, in political institutions, in each other, in the possibility of truth, the game's won.
The problem is you're a liar. The problem is politicians are liars and the media is lying. The fact you guys are covering up Jojo Bagoo's senility, his dementia, and pretending he's a competent leader when he's not, a competent human being. He's been a screw-up his whole career, and now he has dementia, right? And his crackhead son and his dirty dealings with foreign countries selling access to his father, right, during your vice presidency. And then your illegal wars, especially the one in Libya, but all of them. Your Arab Spring, all the lies you lied about Gaddafi and all these things to get us into those wars. I mean, those are just, examples of this, right? You're a liar, and politicians are a liar. Trump's a liar. Republicans lie. Democrats lie. Media lies. Fox News lies. CNN lies. The MSNBC lies. And so the vacuum of your lies, people seeking truth, seeking God, seeking something beyond the material manipulation and psychological operations that you oversaw or were a puppet for, or whatever it was, are, the reason people don't trust you. It's not Putin, right? It's that you're lying, right? It's not Putin. It's not, disinformation agent. It's not Steve Bannon. It's the fact that you're a liar, that people are looking for alternate, explanations and narratives because you guys lie.
And as Putin discovered leading up to the 2016 election, our own social media platforms are well designed to support such a mission, such a project. Russians could study and manipulate patterns in the engagement ranking system on a Facebook or a YouTube. And as a result, Russian state-sponsored trolls could almost guarantee that whatever disinformation they put out there would reach millions of Americans. And that the more inflammatory the story, the quicker it spread. Now, I've been writing my memoirs lately, including reflections on events leading up to that election. The regrets I have, the things I might have missed. No one in my administration was surprised that Russia was attempting to meddle in our election. It had been doing that for years.
You literally did regime change in a number of countries that weren't a threat or weren't even actively pursuing aggression against America, Libya being the biggest one. Gaddafi had gotten rid of all of his weapons of mass destruction. He had, let companies and corporations into his country, which is a big part of what the UN wanted. PPPs, public and private partnerships. That was part of the Millennium Development Goals. He was ahead of schedule to achieve those Millennium Development Goals. He took the poorest country in Africa under King Idris, who he had a bloodless coup, and turned it into the richest country in Africa. And his citizens, for the most part, loved him. He had like 70% approval. Like Jojo Magoo has 30% approval here, right? And so you took him out in an illegal war that was ordered by the UN. And you're talking about Russian fixing elections, and not that Russia doesn't do that, not that China doesn't do that, but the U.S. also does that, right? Don't complain when other people do your same behaviors. Now, Obama's a lot better than Biden. Like, Biden's an embarrassment to America. Obama's a much better performer. I have less, negative feelings towards Obama in terms of his ability to, play the role of president or whatever it is, right? He's smarter, he's more competent, he's more articulate than Biden, right? And Biden, of course, now has, dementia. But he is such an absolute shill. And what he's saying here, is kind of, almost insulting to all of us, right? I don't take these things personally, but it's insulting to all of us, because what they've tried to say in the report that they put out, the NSA and the CIA and the FBI put out a joint report. What they've tried to say is that the truth community has come about because of the Russians. And it's been around forever. My brother, when he came back from Vietnam, it was already pre-existing then, the idea of some of these truther narratives, right? And so all these things have existed for a very long time. And there's a spiritual movement where the obscurantism, the lies of the governments, the heartfulness meditation that I do, there's a spiritual awakening that's happening that's bringing all these things out to light, and the internet is a vehicle for all these lies, these long-time conspiracies, these long-time, these manipulations and mind control by the government through television and just everything. It's been around for a long time. And the Russians came in there with their stupid Russia Today TV YouTube channel that sucked, that wasn't really, really a truther channel, right? And it was state-run. They were just building on the work that other people had done, organic Americans. And to say that this thing is somehow, a state-run, foreign-run disinformation network is a way for them to block the rest of us from speaking, truth, right? Even if we're, not right about everything, at least we're sincere. There's lots of disinformation, lots of, shills out there, lots of bad people. The internet's just right with bad information, right? Wrought with bad information. Keep on using the wrong word. I've used wrought twice now. But what he's saying is because of foreign interference, which is a lie, this is an organic movement that started here in the U.S., specifically in the 2000s, before his presidency, and then throughout his presidency, right? And then, Russia Today tried to sponge in on it, but it sucked. It wasn't, nobody watched it. It didn't get very many views. And they're trying to say that that's, the driving force here, and it isn't. Russian influence is something that they're, parasiting. The Russian government, Putin's government, is parasiting off of something that already existed here, which is a craving for the truth, because the, leaders like Obama and, Trump and Clinton and all these other people, all the presidents and all these other, media giants have been lying to us for years, and now we're more aware of it, right? More and more people are aware of it, and they want to shut it down because the system can't exist in truth. The system, truth is kryptonite to a system that's based in a debt-based lie, materialistic, go against God, demonic type of a system. And so the truth is going to bring the system down, a system that's already collapsing of its own depravity, right? And so speaking of that, let's move on to the Kardashians. Right?
When the Kardashians cut the line, get the ride to themselves, and make us common folk wait and watch them.
So this is at Disney World, right? Typical. This is at Disneyland, in California. And I covered this before. Kim Kardashian went with her two sisters, in air quotes, and their kids, the three of them, to Disneyland. And Kim Kardashian took a picture of one of her sister's kids and her kid, and they were all in pink, and she had this picture she wanted to use on her Instagram, and she has this pink aesthetic, and she's all about her aesthetic. So her sister didn't want her to use her daughter's picture for Instagram, and so she photoshopped her other sister's head on her other sister's kid's body, her niece's body. Her other niece's head on her niece's body, and she got caught, and she explained it. And so this is that trip. And apparently, they went to the teacup ride, cut everybody, and as they're going around with empty teacups, the three of them, the three, women and their kids, these people are watching, right? These fake royalty people, right?
Typical.
There they are out there, right? There's the super hose, right? Now, you're not royalty. Even if you were, royalty sucks. But these guys have done nothing, right? She was in a sex tape when they became famous, and their dad defended OJ, right? You get to be on the teacups, cut in line at Disneyland, and make everybody watch you, and you're not at least somewhat embarrassed and ashamed that you just cut in line, like you feel that privileged and that special. These freaking Jezebels, I think that they're feeling like, oh my God, look at all these lucky people being able to watch us ride the teacups with our kids, right? She's there with it's Kim with the big one and the tall, skinny one, right? And they're sitting there, wow, look at these people getting our darshan, right? These people are able to bask in our divine presence or our royal presence, right? They think that these people are getting a treat to watch them, to see them in person. That you're going to cut in line, right? And you're going to watch these people, the slaves, watch you as you go around. You've done nothing but bring the moral and the vibratory level down in this world. I never really covered the Kardashians. I did the little stuff here and there, some stuff on Caitlyn, right? And over the years, there was a fake robbery that happened in France, but I didn't really, know much about them because I knew it would be just like this, right? Just low vibration and just icky and stupid. And then, they had this promos of their last season of their show a year ago. And it was so funny that I watched them, like so funny in a way that you're laughing at them kind of thing. And then Kanye went full Kanye, so I started covering them a little bit. But they're just horrible. And they're, there's no redeeming qualities here. There's nothing of value. Like they're just the worst, stupidest. And, again, this is a part of their show. And they influence young people in the wrong direction and materiality and, the plastic silicone nature of their bodies and the plastic surgery and all of it, right? There they go, run the freaking, like, look at the people watching. Like so there's some sort of royalty, all these empty cups. It says it seemed like forever, right? They're out there, probably got a longer ride and things. They're, touching their hair as they, this little kid with mouse ears watching the super hose and their kids go around. So this isn't Amanda Bynes' official Instagram. She has she has a closed account. ever since the conservatorship. But people take her stuff and post it anyway, right? Which is going to happen. And I covered her. She had a sort of a meltdown about her fiance named Paul. You know, she said this at the end of the video.
I found Paul's stash of crack cocaine. He's been using for the past 6 months. He needs serious help. I kicked him out of my house.
But it says here, to clarify, so this person put their two hands together. This is in her official post. But it says, to clarify, I said what I said about Paul relapsing because he did. I don't know when he got clean, and because of the disturbing porn he was watching, I assumed he must be on drugs now. Also, Paul did vandalize his mom home 2 weeks ago. He put salmon under her bed. Right? His brother Mark called the cops on him and but Paul left before he got there. When I saw the mom and son porn on Paul's phone, I got upset and kicked him out. When he left, I was worried he would vandalize my home because he still had the keys. That's why I called the police. At any rate, I shouldn't have said he's currently using because he's been sober for 2 weeks. Also, he told me he searched MILFs and the other content autofilled the search engine. That was his excuse. he was using you searched MILFs excuse. You know, that's the depraved nature of our society. He's given a statement saying she was on ecstasy or something when she did the Instagoal video. And, like, you know, why would you do an Instagoal video, right? But anyways, that's Amanda Bynes. This is Alec Baldwin's Instagoal feed, and he had this post yesterday. Just in, 58 gunshots interrupt Little League baseball game in South Carolina. This is what the NRA has done to America. You shot a coworker and killed her. The very childhoods of our kids interrupted by this insanity. We regulate many things in this country in the interest of public health and safety. Drugs, cars, professional licenses, etc. We need gun control reform now, said the guy who shot his cinematographer and, you know, left her child motherless, right? I mean, the guy has no ability to self-perceive. You know, he's glorified. I mean, on this movie set where they're glorifying guns, right? He's making a Western. Hollywood has glorified guns for years. They've been sponsored by the military-industrial complex, and there's all these, you know, I mean, there's so much violence and gunplay in movies and video games, and then they come out with these sanctimonious, right? You shot a woman, and, like, why would you even bring this up, right? You do not get to talk about gun control. You didn't check to see if the gun was loaded, and he's posting this. I mean, is this an act, or are you just this clueless? Are you literally this stupid, and you have no ability to self-perceive? Then YouTube recommended this.
It's the just-released police body cam of the moments officers approach Bob Saget's door at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando.
This is going to be riveting. This guy's got a Starbucks coffee.
They first knocked on the wrong door.
Actually, it's like 7-Eleven. They knocked on the wrong door.
961. Then they go to Saget's room, 962.
These are cracks. These are this is the dream team here. They knocked on the wrong door.
As they open the door, the camera goes to black. We know.
So you have no video then, right? You're not going to show us what happened next?
Know what they found inside, the comedian dead in his bed. And this is his room as they found it that
They found this is the room.
morning, January 9th. The police photos also just released. In the bathroom, towels lie in the tub, which may indicate he had a shower before he went to bed.
Wow, exactly. The towels in the tub.
Was this where he fell and banged his head?
It could be. There's towels in the tub.
Floor, hard, potentially slippery marble tiles. His
No blood.
deodorant and
It's the Mitchum. He hit himself in the head with his Mitchum deodorant.
hairbrush on a shelf above the sink. His bed still has the eerie impression of his body.
They're really ghouling it up here. You guys are really ghouling this thing up.
the pillow, an indentation where his head lay. Noted
his cracked cranium, which had multiple fractures, orbital fractures, and it was cracked all across the skull.
There is no visible blood.
No visible blood. He was laying there with a cracked skull.
Minibar appears untouched. On the nightstand, his cell phone and iPad are...
It's just so riveting. There's so much information and clues here. So YouTube recommended that video and also this one. This is Jodie Sweetin.
His first couple of weeks, we were all together, and Bob would have loved nothing more. And it was one of those things when someone passes, when you keep thinking like, oh man, they're supposed to be here.
She got engaged and she's going to get married again, or she just got married again. I forget which. And, she lost custody of her kids because of rehab. This is like her 4th or 5th marriage. She went to rehab 3 times and just all the addict stuff, right? And, they're talking about Bob Saget and how, awesome he was. And how he missed him at the ceremony, the wedding.
Here, this would have made them so happy. And luckily we did get together all the time when he was alive. So I don't feel like anything was left unsaid.
Yeah, it's the way to be. Everyone you hear, everyone you talk to who knew
this guy's really getting into it here.
Everybody. Well. Everyone talks about how good of a relationship and how loving he was.
He really was.
He was the most loving person.
Through it all.
Those messages he would leave to everybody.
He would leave you great messages, and it always started with, "Hi, it's Bob."
Bob, he was so funny.
Even a text message, "Hey, it's Bob." And you're like, I know.
I got it.
Right, and it would always end with "Love you."
He just said, "Love you."
Legacy, I think, from everybody we've talked to that was really close to him, was his humor and his love.
His depraved, porn kind of pedo, pervy humor and his love. He was the sweetest man ever alive, the best rainy day friend ever. Best rainy day friend ever.
Yeah.
It was unmatched, and I think everybody continues to carry that with them.
Yeah.
What a wonderful parting gift.
Yeah, you always knew where you stood with Bob, and that was "I love you," and you always knew you were going to laugh.
Yeah. You're going to laugh. The guy hasn't made a funny joke his entire life. Like, say one time you've laughed at Bob Saget, right? His crappy, this crappy, horrible TV shows and his depraved humor, that wasn't funny, right? Like, there's raw comedians that are very vulgar, that are funny, and Bob Saget wasn't one of them. He wasn't funny, right? He was depraved but wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Probably even at times that you shouldn't.
Usually at times
that's the best
that you shouldn't.
I am notorious. The joke was on Fuller House. They were like, "Oh, you turned into Bob." Where I was just like, I would say something and be like, "Oh my God, the kids are in the room."
So she started to do depraved humor, right? They were always getting in trouble, Bob and, those other 2 clowns that were there with them. They dropped their pants. They flashed the kids. Bob pretended to a synthetic doll that was standing in for the Olsen twins as they did, the walkthrough for the scene, right? And Jodie Sweetin, right? She's now has Bob's depraved humor. They were always getting in trouble with the moms who were watching, and on Fuller House, she would make Bob Saget like jokes, so she inherited his twisted sense of humor. And that got her 4 divorces and rehab.
I had a really inappropriate, funny sense of humor. So, and I owe him a huge gratitude for that.
Well, there was some laughs.
Yeah, because it's so funny. He was just so funny.
But also some tears. This show's crazy, Scott.
Crazy.
Beyond the edge.
Beyond the edge.
Wait, before you talk, roll the clip so you know what we're talking about. Here we go.
It's beyond the edge. She's in reality TV land, I think, here.
You good, you good.
Like, she's struggling here, her teammate.
Put your weight on me, put your weight on me.
Put your weight on. She's holding him up. She's holding her up.
I will not leave her behind.
Okay, so this little segment from this really horrible reality TV show that no one's going to watch on CBS, I think it's not even on their main network, got copyrighted. And they blocked the video like complete idiots because most of you would never even know this show existed. And maybe a few of you would be interested in watching it because of my video. So it's only a net gain for them, but they have these stupid policies at CBS where they copyright things. And, you know, oftentimes it's against I mean, these are just a short clip that they already gave permission to put up on YouTube to some stupid entertainment video that I don't know got how many views, probably like 2,000 or 3,000, right? My video already got 9,000 views. And so CBS and their like infinite stupidity copyrighted this. Like they're the worst of the three networks. And now I'm having to like edit out this portion of the video. And it's stupid. Like it's just stupidity on their part. Now I could get them to, you know, I could write this all down and talk about, I've done this before where I've talked about how stupid the person is. In a copyright, I could do a copyright, but it would take 5 days, and by that time, people who were watching this video and then got cut off because of their stupidity. And so they would probably reverse it, because I did it with NBC before. I said, like, you guys are, like, so stupid. I'm using a little bit of your stupid old show. Actually, I made a video of, I can't remember the name of the show, but some old show that was on NBC, and I'm saying, you know, even if, you know, 10 more people watch it, you're going to get some sort of royalties from that. And, you know, like I did a show, some old show that had some symbolism in it. And by copywriting that, you're blocking the flow. I mean, I literally called them stupid and all these things. And, you know, then they reversed it because, like, it's just, these are stupid policies that CBS has. But anyway, Jodie Sweetin's in a reality show. And I'm cutting out the other clips that I show. It was just a little promo. It was probably 30 seconds long. I'll cut out the rest of it. She's in a reality TV show with Paulina Porizkova. So you understand the comments here that I'm going to make. I'll leave my comments in, but I'll have to edit out the little extra clip. She's not going to leave her behind. No man left behind. So she's in Corey Feldman land now, right? She's on some bad reality TV show.
You and Paulina, y'all totally bonded.
Oh, I call her P because
of this incident that happened when we were running through the woods. I guess that's Paulina Porizkova, who had her own meltdown. Remember, she was weeping in her Instagram and all of it. She's, you know, she got cut out of her husband's will, so she's they're both now in reality TV land, Corey Feldman land. So that's Jodie Sweetin. That's a Bob Saget update. The thing about this is, you know, doing this job, is that on a daily basis, there's always stuff to cover. I mean, it's gotten worse over the years. Like, it's progressively getting more. Like, it's like being the mailman. Like, the mail never stops, right? It's like working in the post office. It's like every day there's more, right? It's never any completion of, like in this case, the depravity or the stupidity, or, I mean, I don't mean just celebrity culture and politics, but all of it, right? The news. You know, I wake up every day and there's like things I can't get to. And that's not like I'm doing deep research into the news. Like, I look at a few different, you know, websites, whatever it is, right? New, you know, mainstream news and, you know, Page 6 and things like this. And then people send me things. I mean, I don't spend, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe, not even that, just perusing the internet. And there's always something to make fun of. I mean, you know, it takes almost no effort on my part. Like, there were days before, years ago, where it's like, oh, nothing happened today. There's nothing to cover, right? I mean, I can always go back to an old movie or something I saw, or, you know, something else, whatever. But on a daily basis, in terms of the meltdown, the apocalypse, something happens every day. Like, more than one thing, you know? And, you know, sometimes it's something that's happened some weeks ago that I haven't seen yet. Somebody sends me it or whatever it is. But every day there is, you know, just people failing and the system failing and, you know, all of it. I mean, you can just see it, right? Censorship, Obama, right? You know, just the level of, I mean, he's literally saying to save democracy, we have to censor the crap out of people. We have to take the already left-leaning and democratically, the Democratic Party type of shillery that goes on in social media, the ownership and the orientation of the social media giants that are already skewed towards his side, the people that are on his side in the view of the left-right paradigm, they're already on that side. And to make it even more exclusionary, and they're the so-called party of inclusivity, right? But we have to exclude these people because they just got it wrong. And, of course, they're being influenced by foreign people like Putin, which is, insulting to the movement, this organic movement that has already grown, right? I mean, we've moved to another stage. Years and years ago, people would say to me, are you worried that, the government's going to kill you or something for, doing what you do here? And I didn't know what I know now, which is it has almost no effect, right? In terms of the system can't be saved. But back then I didn't know that, when I first started doing this. And I said, well, they'll just take my channel. Like they'll just censor us first, right? Like they're not going to go from doing nothing to killing people or locking them up in some kind of FEMA camp. The first thing they're going to do is censor you. Like the first thing they can do is just get rid of you. And back then that wasn't even on the table. That wasn't something that was happening, right? I mean, community guidelines strikes and things like that weren't even a part of YouTube. Like people got them, but I didn't, it was more the copyright thing back then. They fixed the copyright thing. But now it's so restrictive. Like, it was like the Wild West. You could pretty much say anything. And they promoted the crap out of conspiracy theory videos, truther videos back in, even 5 years ago. And so it was when Trump got elected that we saw it change. This idea of fake news came out there, and then the censorship started. And it was inevitable. Like I knew it was going to come because they were, starting to acknowledge the truth community as, influencing lots of people. Like we don't even know how many. It could be as many as half. I mean, it seems like, more and more people are at least open to some of these ideas, all open to alternative explanations, and most people don't trust the politicians and the media. Like, so that's the first thing. So if you don't trust the power that be, and it could be as many as like 80%, like who knows? Like, who knows what the effect is here? And again, there's the woke people on the left, and there's the cubies. I mean, there's all these different versions of it. And so then a vacuum fills this need to trust, or, if we can't trust the people who are in charge of giving us the information, then who do we believe? What do we believe? And then there's a vacuum that fills that need for, other explanations, other narratives to what's going on. But at the end of the day, like I've said so many times before, there's nothing anybody can do. Like the system is what it is, right? And it's just, accepting what is, right? Accepting that we're dependent on a system that's collapsing, a bad system that's bad for us, but we don't know how to live any other way. We've been trained and indoctrinated to be dependent on the system, and it sucks, right? It's like, but there's the good things about it, and you might as well enjoy what's here because it's only going to get worse, right? In terms of your lifestyle. Something happened to me on the farm, which was kind of neat. I was doing this project, and we have a weed problem. We live in a place that's lush, which is great. Like every place you live in, there is the bad part of it and the good part in terms of the soil you have, the amount of rainfall you get, right? Some places are too dry, but you don't have to deal with weeds as much, right? If you can irrigate your crops or whatever it might be. But one thing is I've lived in a couple places that are lush, that, have lush grass. It rains a lot in the spring, and, when you have cattle, I mean, it's easy to grow grass. It's easy to be, when you're a cattle farmer, when you're a dairy farmer, or, you have some sort of livestock, then you're really a grass farmer. You have to produce enough food, grass for what will later become your food, right? So, and also chickens eat a lot of grass, free-range chickens. But the weeds that grow. You live in more of like a tropical forest type place. You don't even know it, right? There's places in America all over the place. We have so much fresh water here. And so we had this barn built, and I covered it in what's called Dusty 12. And so they have the different types of rock. There's 8s and there's 4s and there's 11s. 11s are like pebbles. And what's called Dusty 12 around here is almost, it isn't sand-like, but it's rock that's been powderized, and little pieces of rock and some powder. And it forms like a concrete almost. It gets compacted by rain, and you walk on it, but then you can dig it up. Like, it's not like having a cement floor, so it's kind of neat. And I put a bunch of the Dusty 12 around our barn, but weeds started to grow through it because I didn't put plastic down, and I didn't, know to do that because, you don't. Like, there's things you don't know to do, and I'm like, oh, I wish I'd put plastic down. And so I got this woven fabric, and I made a walking trail, because we have flooding in the spring, and it was just like this project that was going to enhance the value of our property, putting wildflowers around it. We go on walks. It's the one thing my wife and I do on a daily basis to get exercise, and it helps me with my videos. And we go through, it's nice out in the pasture, and there's a pond now there and all this stuff. Like, we've made this pasture into sort of a destination, and it's and it makes it easier to get to the areas that we're growing food and things. So I'm putting the Dusty 12 down, and I had a limited amount of time to do it. Like, I had to get it done, and it came down to like a time crunch, right? And I had the flat tire with the tractor, and then I realized I didn't have enough woven material, and it wasn't going to get there till I had to get it done on Friday. It wasn't going to get there till Friday, but it showed up on Thursday. And I called the place where they crush the rock, and I said, can you deliver Dusty 12? But it's like they're, all these places, people are building like crazy, investing in land and investing in their homes. And, so they're like, well, we have a waiting list of like 50 people. I'll put your name on the list. If somebody cancels, we'll drop it off. And I'm just about getting it done, and I got my son to help me. Like, the one thing that's been difficult for me is when I bend over. I get, that's always been an issue since I've had COVID. And so it's a weird thing. My heart starts to race a little bit. There's some issues with it. So I was, I was putting these pegs into the woven fabric, right? And then the Dusty 12 just shows up, and I get my son to help me, and I get it all done, right? I get it like, just at the last. I mean, it took me a little bit longer, and, but I had to work a little bit harder and do more work on it. But it was just like all fell into place. And there's two principles, because I talked about this earlier. When you're doing projects in like a homestead, and other people have experienced this, there's always things that show up, problems you didn't know you were going to have. Nature seems to, want to thwart you, right? It's always, you got to work for it. There's always going to be, you think you're smooth sailing and something happens, equipment breaks, or, nature, does something, it floods, or it's too dry, or, it just, there's ways that it keeps you from completing projects, right? You're on a good roll, or, for me, it was also the health and, the COVID issues. I mean, it's just always something, right? Like, you're just about like done with something, or you think you got it wired, and then there's, you get thrown a curveball. But then there's times that things just sort of work out. Also, the Heartfulness Gathering, the Babaji birthday gathering that's happening right now. And there's just a flow to it. And, we have abilities. Like, we didn't want to, I was a little nervous about getting a tractor. And, my brother had driven a Bobcat for a while. But, I didn't grow up with it. I grew up in the suburbs. My dad was a guidance counselor, not really good with mechanical things. My grandfather was. But, it was something I had to learn on my own. I didn't, have some parent to teach me, or, whatever it was. But I really love the tractor, and, like, I've gotten good at it, especially, like, I can build good pads out of this Dusty 12 and other things. A rock, or, redoing our driveway and things when it has to be redone. And, like the backhoe I've talked about before, but there's a scoop on the tractor. And, the guy who came over and helped us when we got our bees said, oh, wow, you build a nice pad, right? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, I didn't know whether I was doing it right or not, right? Like, I was just, trying to figure it out. I don't know if I watch some YouTube videos or whatever it is. But the knowledge comes, right? Like when you have to adapt, there's a part of the divine system that wants people to survive, wants you to survive. And some people are going to survive. That's the idea of Pockets of the Future. As the system collapses and you no longer depend on it, then there's this other aspect. And if you click into the divine, that's what the Heartfulness system is there to do, help people transition. If you connect to the divine and God's there and you're part of the flow, then, the knowledge comes and the information comes. And, I now know that I got to put down this plastic, and then I don't have to deal with it later on, right? It's just, weeds, the weeding thing is gone, right? And we grow things in plastic bins. Like we have this sort of container gardens, which we really like. And so, but the weeds, like I made these, I put down some rock in different areas in some of this Dusty 12, but the weeds are going through it. And then we water the containers so they grow more. And so now I know, like if I put down the plastic, this, and it's great. It's easy to use and, whatever it is. But, it's just like a learning experience. Like you're like, all right, I didn't know that before and I wish I did, And so there's a lot of that that's to come. But it's more rewarding work, right? For whatever reason. Like I like making the videos, and the video is a thing. Like it's, it's a video. But it's not something that, once I make the video, I'm pretty much done with it. And then it's, it's for other people to, enjoy or not or whatever, comment or whatever. But like with something that I'm making now is something we use on a daily basis, right? It's, improves our life and things. And so I enjoy the creative process of doing the videos. But of course, it's just, every day it's something like it's a bummer, right? There's, it's a negative because it's, things are going in a negative direction. Of course, there is the spiritual movement and, the things that are going on with that, right? There's always a counter movement, and it's really the real movement, right? The end of our civilization and the collapse of our system is to give birth to a better time and a better person. People will be better. People will, it's just like people are getting dumber and weaker, and you see what's happened to this, current generation of youth that's disconnected from their parents, and they're being raised by the internet and social media, and they have been warped in so many ways. You guys are experiencing it with your kids and your kids' friends, and, everything they're seeing, like we're seeing, and we're shocked at the way things are. That's normal for this generation of kids, right? And so all of those things, right? It's people getting so weak and so pathetic, and you're not showing up for their, jobs because of their psychological issues. I covered this in a video on my other channel yesterday. It's gotten really bad. It's, it's brutal. It's a tough thing to see happening, the collapse of our, how low people are sinking, right? But there's always something that's, when there's the end of a bad time, the end of in this case, the Kali Yuga, at the time of, depravity, then it gives birth to the opposite, right? There's going to be, like a sort of a moral surge in people connecting to nature and each other, and a resurgence of the family and things that, natural things that are God-given, our God-given support system. Like people, need other people. They need to, live in community, and things that we've lost, right? And so those things are, they're gone for now, or they're disappearing, but they'll make a resurgence because it always happens that way, right? So when something bad ends, there's always the opportunity for something good to take its place, right? That's, where we are right now. Like we're on the cusp of something better happening, better people, better systems, a better orientation to the world. But the transitionary period is always rough, right? And that's what we have to endure. Like that's, and it's just beginning. Like, it's there, we see it, but now it's just an idea. But pretty soon it'll be lifestyle. Once it infiltrates into your lifestyle, when you realize, oh, this isn't ever going to be the same again. It's never going to be as good as it was. And that's, that's where we are. Like we're at the cusp of it starting to affect us in our lives. Some people it already has. but it's going to be more so as time goes on. And you just have to align yourself with the divine current, the flow of the divine current. You know, that's what the heartfulness system does. And be able to embrace the way people are going to have to be, right? Like people have to rise up to a different level. Because we see what happens when, this is the effects of the depraved system and all of it. A system based in materiality. And this is where this always ends up. This is the first time this has happened, right? You see it happen in individual smaller segments with the wealthy elite people who, turn their back on their divine purpose and all of it, right? And, their souls and the natural world, and they become just pleasure-oriented and hedonistic. And this is the way it always ends up, and it's just now a larger scale where people are all, are so selfish and so disconnected from God and nature and what it is to be like a real human being that collectively there's a collapse, right? Because when you're going in the wrong direction, you're going away from your spiritual path and you're going away from the divine will. There are consequences, and these are the consequences, right? And so you get to a stage where there's going to be complete collapse, and there could be like utter chaos, and people sinking to the lowest possible level, or there's the opportunity to rise up and be better, like to jump up the next level, to take a next like evolutionary step and become, better, like just better in every possible way. And so that's the choice point that we're coming around to, and we'll see what happens, right? I'm hopeful, but it is the way it is now, and there needs to be a change, and that choice hasn't happened yet, right? We haven't been pushed to the choice point has to happen once our material lives are changed dramatically. Like right now, people are just going along with what is there, and we have really no choice. But then as the system collapses and our lifestyle is affected, then we have the choice, right? We have the choice to realize the error of our ways and jump up and be better. And we'll see what happens, right? Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.